Well, you know what's not depressing? And that's everybody's favourite segment. It's time for Dan Howell Watch. Hi, welcome to Dan Howell Watch. I'm Christ Macklin. What's Dan been up to this week? Well, Dan had a wonderful Christmas and New Year's, as I'm sure you'll be very happy to hear. Unfortunately, though, he did get into a little bit of a sticky situation on old NYE. You see, he was out in the garden with Phil and a couple of his YouTuber friends, and they were setting off fireworks, as people want to do on New Year's. Well, anyway, one of Dan's very long, he wears those very long sort of sweater jumper things that just kind of go right over his hand and you just kind of envelop him. Anyway, that got snagged on a Catherine wheel, which is a spinny firework, sent him spinning around in a circle. He then stumbled backwards into a large firework, which fired him 400 feet into the sky. It then exploded, sending him flying across this way until he landed in Wales. And then Dan had to trek back all the way to his house from Wales, but luckily his Marines training, Dan was in the Marines, helped him get through the way. He did kill a few sheep for survival, but in the end he made it. And he's working on some brand new content for all you boys and girls. This has been Dan Howell Watch. Really good. We've been trying to make Dan Howell Watch more believable this year, and that really did seem like a real story. Bitcoin. It's definitely money. Are you sure you don't want to come and perform a song? I know, I appreciate you directing. It's nice to have a director for once, but I just feel like if you have Troye Sivan, like, you sure you don't want to be on the show? No, I think you're doing a great job, but it's just like, you know, you're quite a big name. It would be nice if you maybe came on camera. You're standing right here. You cool? You just want to do the lights? Fair play, I suppose it's a change of pace for you. That's cool. Well, those are our three stories, and you know what that means. It's time for Filled In. Hi, welcome to Filled In. I'm Mickey Mouse, but not that one. What's Phil been up to this week? Well, as you know, Phil is turning 31 at the end of January, and to celebrate, he has decided to crush the lives of 31 people who have wronged him throughout his life. Phil will be carrying out his mission with ruthless efficiency, as is his way. He's already taken down 15 people who got in his way when he was an up-and-coming YouTuber, and he's got about, I'd say about 16 more on the way. 4 of those people have been vaporized, and the rest of them wish they were. It's a great reminder that Phil is a lovely guy, a great YouTuber, and one of the most ruthless murderers of the modern age. This has been Filled In. What do you mean the Bitcoin's gone? Well, those are... Oh, what's this? Oh, sorry, I'm getting a FaceTime call, one sec. Hello? Ah, Barack Obama. How you doing? How you doing, mate? I'm good, I'm really good. Sorry, I'm right in the middle of doing YouTuber news. I know you're a fan. Could we maybe talk later? Because we just talked yesterday, so it can't be that urgent. We are best friends, so we talk all the time, obviously. Okay. I know you've got a lot of time in your hands now, but you're gonna have to get some hobbies or something, because some of us have jobs. Okay, so, all right. I gotta go, man. Okay. So needy. Well, those are our stories for the day, and you know what that means. It's time for Filled In. Birthday edition. Hi, welcome to Filled In. I'm Dan Howell. What's Phil been up? God damn it! Who is calling me? Hello? Ah, Kim Jong-un. This is, mate. I'm doing Filled In. I know it was his birthday. I'll wish him happy birthday for you. Can I get back to the... Kim? What have we spoken about? I need my own time sometimes. Okay, bye. Anyway, what's Phil been up to this week? Well, of course, it was his 31st birthday, and he celebrated it in style by buying a hotel in Monopoly. He was playing Monopoly with Dan. And then they went and bought a real hotel in Las Vegas. It's called the Fill Inn, which is not a pun. Filled in is a pun. The Fill Inn, I guess it kind of works as a pun, like fill in a form or something. I said to him, if you're gonna spend billions, I mean with a B, billions, buying this luxury hotel, you don't want to give it a better name. I didn't have any to hand, but I said to him, but you know what he's like, he doesn't, you know, I'm the birthday boy, I don't want to listen. I mean, hey, look, he's my best friend. I love the guy, but you know, sometimes the communication is spotty. But anyway, I shouldn't speak ill of the birthday boy. He had a great week. I got him a Rolex for his birthday. He loved it. It was my favorite Rolex. He did mention he would never wear the Rolex in videos because of reasons. So if you're expecting to see it, you'll never be able to see it. He said it's too important because it reminds him of our friendship. So he's going to hide it under his bed, and you'll never see any evidence that it exists, but it does exist. This has been filled in. Great episode, really rambling. They're my favorite ones. Well, we finished our 3 stories, and you know what that means? Give me a D, give me an A. This is gonna take forever. It's Dan Howell Watch. Welcome to Dan Howell Watch. I'm Susan Wojcicki, CEO of YouTube. We're trying our best. What's Dan been up to this week? Well, Dan was in South Korea for the Winter Olympic Games, where he was competing in the sport known as men's curling. Now, Dan arrived there with his curling iron, ready to get his hair all curled, when he found out the sport is actually something very different than what he'd expected. It turns out it's the whole thing with brooms, and they pretty much make it up as they go along. Anyway, Dan got gold, which was fine, but Phil did slip on the ice and bump his noggin, which kind of brought the whole mood down. This has been Dan Howell Watch. Great app. Love Dan Howell Watch. It's my #1 source of real news. Well, those are our 3 stories, and you know what that means. It's time to check in with our Dan with a plan. That's right, it's Dan Howell Watch. Welcome to Dan Howell Watch. I'm David Dobrik. What's Dan been up to this week? Well, as you know, last week Dan was in South Korea for the Winter Olympics, and a grand old time was had by all. But now he's back in sunny London, and he's planning his tour with a little someone I like to call Phil Lester, which is strange because his real name's PJ. Now, Dan had all kinds of ideas for this tour. He was going to do a little bit of a dance, do a little bit of a sing, do a little bit of a reference to his videos. We all enjoy those. But then he looked down at the note paper he had in front of him with all his ideas, and he grabbed the paper and he scrunched up and threw it away. Then he took his pen and he wrote down a single idea. And he's decided that the only thing he's going to do on his tour is get on one of those big wheels where you spin around, and Phil is going to throw knives at him. And every single one of those knives is going to go around his body, forming a kind of metal shape. And the audience is going to go hog wild. The show will be over in about 10 minutes. Worth every penny if you ask me. This has been Dan Howell Watch. Great episode. It's kind of a shame that he tripped up saying notepad. But apart from that, pretty good episode. Well, those are our stories, and you know what that means. It's time for Dan Howell Watch. Welcome to Dan Howell Watch. I'm Doctor Who. Boy, do I love travelling around in my Millennium Falcon. What's Dan been up to this week? Well, as you know, it's been snowing here in the UK, and Dan has been out of the house in a rare move, enjoying the snow. Now, he was at the park with Phil, and Phil turned to him, a cheeky smile on his face, and said, "Hey Dan, I don't want to make a snowman. I want to make a snow howl," and then proceeded to cover Dan in snow so quickly he couldn't escape. And Dan became trapped inside a snowman, and he's still there. You need to go and help him. He's still there. You need to go and help him. This has been Dan Howell Watch. Yeah, it's Hyde Park. It's just, he's by a tree. You'll see a snowman, but it's not actually a snowman. It's a poor sweet boy, and he's trapped, and he's probably going to freeze to death. So I would send the police, the fire service, everyone you've got. Cool. And then a large pepperoni, and then just some peppers on there. No sweet corn. Okay, and a Diet Coke. And then what's the delivery going to be like on that? Oh, what? Oh, I suppose it's snowing, so it'll take a while. Okay, well, get here when you can. Okay, love you. Okay, bye. Just leaving a voicemail. Well, those are our 3 stories for the day, and you know what that means. And I wish he'd tell me, because I've forgotten. I can't remember what it is I'm supposed to do now. Something with YouTuber... Is it Shane Dawson Watch? Is it Markiplier Minute? Are we going to do a hot Markiplier Minute? I can't remember. Oh yeah, it is. It's Markiplier Minute. It's time for Markiplier Minute. Hi, welcome to Markiplier Minute. What has Markiplier been up to? Well, I'll tell you in under 60 seconds. Mark went to the grocery store this week. He bought some apples. This has been Markiplier Minute. That was a really great episode. I love that. That was great. Well, I guess it's time to wrap up the show. Just kidding, it's time for Dan Howell Watch. Let's do it. Hi, welcome to Dan Howell Watch. I'm Chuck E. Cheese. What has Dan been up to this week? Well, a variety of things. As you know, he released a video in which he said he wants to live his truth, which is a wonderful video. Suggest you check it out. Really enjoyable. Well, also this week, he went to a theme park because he decided to have some outdoor fun for once. But unfortunately, things didn't go entirely according to plan. He went on a roller coaster, and the roller coaster had like an indoor bit. You know how some people do like an indoor bit with animatronic stuff? And as he was going through, there was an animatronic snowman, and it spooked him because, as you remember from last week, he did get trapped inside a snowman and nearly die. Anyway, Dan freaked out so badly that with his enormous superhuman strength, he accidentally destroyed the entire roller coaster, which is a shame and very expensive for that theme park. But Dan's rich, so he just paid for it. This has been Dan Howell Watch. Really good episode. That guy is not running out of ideas. These are fresh as hell every week. Well, those are our 3 stories, and you know what that means. It's time for Dan Howell Watch. Cue the music. Welcome to Dan Howell Watch. I'm Martin Freeman, but not that one. What's Dan been up to this week? Well, Phil went away on a business trip, leaving Dan home alone. Immediately, 2 wily burglars tried to break into his house, and Dan was left dumbfounded. He was like, it's not even Christmas. Like, this isn't... It's freaking March. Like, this doesn't match the movie at all. Like, at least do it seasonally. At which point, they'd already broken into his house. Luckily, Dan made some makeshift traps and devices, put a paint can on a string, and then like flew it down the stairs and it bonked the guy in the head. That guy died. Dan is now on trial for murder. We'll let you know what's happening in next week's episode, but it's not looking good for Dan. It's not looking good for Dan. This has been Dan Howell Watch. Great ep. I'm on the edge of my seat. Jesus. Well, those are our 3 stories, and you know what that means. It's time for Dan Howell Watch. Hi, welcome to Dan Howell Watch. I'm Count Dankula, but not that one. I'm a different one. He's given us all a bad name. What's Dan been up to this week? Well, as you know, Harry and Meghan Markle's wedding is coming up, another royal wedding. And they're not going with their usual baker for the cake. No, they're going with someone a little bit different. You guessed it. It's Daniel Howell. Well, he's been in the kitchen all week trying to bake this cake. But he doesn't know the first thing about baking. So he's made it out of clay. And it doesn't taste good. And he's worried about it. This has been Dan Howell Watch. Another great episode of Dan Howell Watch. Oh, hi there, I'm John Diblins. Well, those are our 3 stories, and you know what that means. It's time for Dan Howell Watch. Easter edition. Yeah! Welcome to Dan Howell Watch. Oh, hold on, one sec. Put that down there. That's John Mayer's guitar, so don't lose that. Welcome to Dan Howell Watch. I'm Benedict Townsend. What's Dan been up to this week? Well, Dan is getting ready to celebrate Easter in the only way he knows how, going around people's gardens and stealing their Easter eggs. Yes, Dan is a bad guy, a real bad guy, and he hates Easter and he loves stealing. And what's that? I'm gonna check my emails. Okay. Sorry, one second. You'd think the email would come through on the computer, but it's come through to my phone. Oh, we're being sued by Dan. Was it because of those comments I just made there about him being a big thief? Or was it just... Oh, it's just everything. Just everything we've ever said on this show. Fair. Amazing episode of Dan Howell Watch. Really good. It had highs, it had lows. I laughed, I cried, I learned something about myself. Really just maybe the best episode we've ever done. 2 out of 10. Well, those are our 3 stories, and you know what that means. It's time for Dan Howell Watch. Welcome to Dan Howell Watch. I'm Ariana Grande. What's Dan been up to this week? Well, he was sent on a quest by the British League of Explorers to find the sacred cup of Homentetu in a country that no longer exists. Well, Dan set off with his trusty crew of exploring buddies, and he made his way into the tomb, which is of course buried under a desert. He solved a riddle to find it. It's a whole thing. They got inside, he jumped around, dodged some spikes, a boulder nearly hit him, he did a little quip, it was all fine. But then, as he was approaching the final room, nearly going to get there, and he could see the cup of on a pedestal, and he was about to reach out and get it, and then he realised, wait a minute, The real cup is the friendship we made along the way. It was all a test. There is no cup. It's the friendship we made along the way. So we went back all the way to England, to the British League of Explorers, and he told them, guys, I figured it out. The real cup is the friendship we made along the way. And they were like, you idiot, what are you talking about? It's a real cup, you stupid YouTuber. You were, what? You were right there, why didn't you get the cup? And he was like, oh, I thought it was like a, I thought it was deeper. No, it's just a cup. We wanted it for the museum. And Dan was like, am I still getting paid? They were like, well, I guess we'll pay you, but come on. It's not the best week for Dan. This has been Dan Howell Watch. Great episode. Loved it. Well, those are our 3 stories, and you know what that means. It's time for Dan Howell Watch. Birthday edition. Welcome to Dan Howell Watch. I'm Dan Howell. What's Dan been up to this week? Well, as you know, Dan's birthday's coming up, and he's going to turn 15 years old, and he's very excited. Now, Dan's got a hell of a party planned. All his friends are going to be there. He's going to get a bouncy castle. He's going to get a clown. He's going to get a second clown. He's going to have jelly. And of course, he's going to go on that bouncy castle with his very best friend in the whole world, fellow YouTuber Marcus Butler. Now, the problem is, there's a present Dan wants for his birthday, and he's worried he's not going to get it, because he thinks he doesn't deserve it, and that present is the entire continent of Asia. Now, it's a difficult present. It's very expensive. A lot of people live there, but you know, Marcus Butler's pretty rich, and maybe you'll get it for him. But I think we should all save up, and as well as the charity thing, which is very important, as well as that, I think we should also all save up and buy Dan Asia. Hashtag buy Dan Asia. This has been Dan Howell Watch. Happy birthday, Dan. I'm 24 years old. If one of your emails ever interrupts my news again, I will find you and remove all of your bones and replace them with significantly worse bones. Yours in Christ, Benedict Townsend. Well, those are all stories for the day, and you know what that means. It's time for Dan Howell Watch. Welcome to Dan Howell Watch. I'm Gavrilo Princip. What's Dan been up to this week? Well, like many British people, Dan is hyped for the birth of a brand new royal baby. And he's extra excited because, due to a series of errors and hysterical mishaps, he's actually delivering the baby. Now, there's a few issues with this. First of all, he's not what you might traditionally call a doctor, and he doesn't have any, medical knowledge. So the actual delivering of the baby will be a little bit difficult for him. For example, this morning he did put his white coat on backwards. That's how he started the day, so not a great start. But all of us here at YouTuber News are just wishing him the best in his quest to deliver the heir to the nation. Don't mess this up, Dan. There will be grave consequences. This has been Dan Howell Watch. You know when a baby is born, they say it's crowning? Do you think if it's a royal baby, it's like extra crowning because of the whole... No? You don't like that? Oh well. Well, those are all stories for the day, and you know what that means. It's time for Dan Howell Watch. Welcome to Dan Howell Watch. I'm Brendan Urie. What's Dan been up to this week? Well, as you know from last week's episode, Dan was in charge of delivering the royal baby. And as you may also know, things went swimmingly. The baby was delivered perfectly healthy, the mother was fine, and Dan has got a ton of praise for the amazing job he did. In fact, Prince William even gave him a lovely gold necklace to say, thank you so much, Dan. Didn't really fit with his black aesthetic, but he wore it anyway. Anyway, he pops along to the palace to be knighted for services to baby, and as he was kneeling down, ready to be knighted, the sword slipped and flew towards his neck and would have decapitated him instantly had it not been from the gold necklace from earlier in the story. Do you remember that? Good storytelling. That caught the sword, but unfortunately deflected it, and the sword did fly off and kill most of the royal family. So Dan is now on trial for treason. Bit of a swings and roundabout situation with this. Thought it was going well. It's actually going very badly now. He is to be killed at dawn. So I would send supportive tweets and just help him get through this, because he is gonna die. for his treasonous ways. This has been Dan Howell Watch. I feel like we keep killing Dan in Dan Howell Watch, and I don't think that's good. No, I know none of it's good, but I think that's worse than usual. Siri on my laptop. Who is the greatest YouTube newsboy on YouTube.com?
For the last time, it is not you and will never ever 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 be you. Please stop asking me every day. I was created to advance this planet, not indulge in your infantile existence. Help.
Well, those are our 3 stories, and you know what that means. It's time for Dan Howell Watch. Welcome to Dan Howell Watch. I'm Logan Paul. Dab on it. What's Dan been up to this week? Well, as you probably know, Dan has been preparing for his Interactive Introverts Tour, the 2018 tour he's doing with young Phil Leister. Now, this week, Dan went along to check the set for the tour. He was very excited. But when he got there, he found that something was a little awry. You see, he had said to the stage manager ahead of time, I'd like there to be a little bit of neon lighting on the set. Just a little bit of neon lighting. Now, the stage manager had unfortunately not heard him correctly. So whereas Dan had said neon lighting, the stage manager thought he said 50 angry geese. So when they got to the set, they were presented by a room just filled with really annoyed geese, and they're going around like doing a big, you know, when they do like a big flap, and it's like, bloody hell. And he's like, you know, he's trying to catch them. He's like, oh man, I guess we have to get rid of them because no one else was helping. And they're picking it up, and it's doing that. He's holding the body and the freaking wings, and they'll peck you. Don't let anyone tell you they won't peck you. They'll pinch. You know what I mean? So they've got about 25 of them out, still only halfway, and that's taking up most of their week. And then they've got to clean the set because obviously these geese are, you know, they'll just go to the bathroom anywhere. Hey, they're geese. So not been a great week for Dan. We wish him the best with that cleanup and also with the tour in general. This has been Dan Howell Watch. Great episode, love that show. And it's crazy that that really happened. You'd think it was fake, but it actually really did happen. Those are our 3 stories for the week. And you know what that means? It's time for our ever popular segment, So You Think You Can Dan. No, that's not it. What is it? You the Dan. No? What is it? Dandemonium. What the hell is this segment called? I don't even know. Dan. Oh, that's right. It's time for Dan Howell Watch. Welcome to Dan Howell Watch. I'm Miss Vanjie. What's Dan been up to this week? Well, as you know, Dan is getting ready for the 2018 World Cup, the Football World Cup. And of course, he's playing a referee, and he is the first referee that's been allowed to play the game itself. So he won't be refereeing, he will be actually taking part in Latvia's national team. Now, Dan's been getting ready all year for this, right? He's been doing his kicks, he's been doing his slide tackles, he's been ironing his shorts, he's been putting his red card and yellow card in his pocket. He won't actually get to use them, of course, because he is playing the game, but Dan is pumped and ready to go. But then disaster struck. You see, Dan is going on a little thing called the Interactive Introverts Tour, and it turns out that the 56th date of the tour coincides with Latvia's very first game in the World Cup. And this is a huge problem for Dan, because he's the star player on both Interactive Introverts and the football match. Phil is also a star, don't worry. Phil is also a star, but he is the star player on that team, and they need him for scoring goals and such. It's a real conundrum, so he cloned himself. Which is, you know, well, you'd expect quite a boring ending. So, yeah, there's 2 Dans now. No big deal, but there are 2 Dans. One of them's evil. But is it the original one or the clone? Come back next week to find out. This has been Dan Howell Watch. Nonsense. Absolutely nonsense. Great episode. The prospect of a twin Dan really opens up the narrative potential of Dan Howell Watch, giving us content potentially for weeks, if not months. Well, those are our stories for the day, and you know what that means. It's time for Dan Howell Watch. Welcome to Dan Howell Watch. You almost made me drop my croissant. What's Dan been up to this week? Well, as you know, last weekend was Eurovision Day, the most bright, shiny, sparkly day in the European calendar. And Dan was there representing his home country of Lithuania. Now, Dan put on quite a show. He had a little bit of a song. He had a couple of backing dancers. They were dressed as llamas. That was because of a translation error. Dan emailed the Lithuanian ambassador, who was for some reason running this. He said, please, you can do anything you want with the backing dancers. Don't use llamas. That's part of my old branding. They misinterpreted that as, please make this almost entirely about llamas. So there were a lot of llamas around Dan, but he sang a great song. I can't remember exactly how it went, but it was something about, my name's Dan, I'm the man, catch me if you can. A lot of rhyming with Dan, mostly. The song was 17 minutes long, which did get him immediately disqualified because the songs are 2-3 minutes at best. I don't know what songs he's been listening to, but 17 minutes is insane. By the 14-minute mark, people were just booing so loudly. But then by the 16th minute mark, he sort of won them back. And then by the 17th, he got a standing ovation. So it was really kind of a roller coaster ride. It's a shame he got disqualified. But you know what? He's coming back next year with his pipes prepared and feeling better than ever. Good luck, Dan. This has been Dan Howell. Great episode. I love that show. Especially the bit about Dan Howell. Well, those are our 3 stories for the day. You know what that means. It's time for Dan Howell Watch. Welcome to Dan Howell Watch. I'm popular Doctor Who actor David Tennant. What's Dan been up to this week? Well, as you know, he and Phil have been travelling around the country as part of their interactive Introverts tour. But the other day, disaster struck at one of their Birmingham shows when Dan was nowhere to be found. Now, it turns out that Dan had got distracted and went off to fulfill one of his lifelong dreams to become a trapeze boy. You see, there was a local circus near the hotel where he was staying for the tour, and he got lured in by an evil clown. Not the one from It. We couldn't afford that for this story. His fee was too much. So this is a non-brand clown. He's called Penny Dumb. Anyway, that wasn't really worth deviating for, but this clown lured him into the circus, and Dan began his career as a trapeze boy, up there on the flying trapeze, flying through the air with the greatest of ease. Now, the problem is, there was no safety net, stolen by a local fisherman, so Dan fell and broke every bone in his body. Now, as you know, Interactive Introverts mostly revolves around Dan bragging about how many non-broken bones he has in his body. So the show was in real peril. But as we all know, Phil has time travel powers, so he went back and saved him. That part's not very interesting, but everything's fine now. This has been Dan Howell, and dare I say it, watch. Great episode, totally feasible, and that's probably my favourite thing about it. And come on Pikachu, come on. Yes, that's what I call Digimon. Well, those are our stories for the day, and you know what that means. It's time for Dan Howell Watch. Welcome to Dan Howell Watch. I'm Jake Paul. I love to joke around and everyone loves me. What's Dan been up to this week? Well, as you know, Dan has been touring the globe with a little person I like to call Phil Phillipson, which is weird because his name is Phil Lester, showing the world their brand new Interactive Introverts tour. Well, Dan this week reached Lapland as part of the 53rd week of his tour. And, you know, when in Lapland, you're going to go see Santa. So we went to see Santa. Turns out Santa was a fan. Wonderful. Unfortunately, he did get captured and is now being employed as an elf making toys for little girls and little boys. Phil is in a cage made of candy canes. It's actually a very traumatic situation. The tour manager is furious because obviously now they're trapped in this sort of Willy Wonka Oompa Loompa type situation where they're forced to make treats. They can't keep touring, and you know, with the insurance they had to pay and everything, it's a financial nightmare. We'll let you know if they escape, but I can't imagine if they will. This has been Dan Howell Watch. Great episode. The sense of peril only entices me to keep watching for many weeks to come. Please keep doing that.